Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Faye and today I thought we would go through my top 10 reads of 2024. Now my reading last year was quite good in the sense that I read from a variety of genres and I definitely found some new favourites, but amongst those favourites there were a fair few that were not the best in my personal opinion, but I thought we would only focus on the positives, and I've picked out my top 10 books that I read in 2024. So I'm going to go down from 10 down to 1, and number 1 will be my top read from last year. If you can hear a licking sound, it's my cat licking a catnip ball thing. He's just having a great old time. So at number 10 we have Daydream by Hannah Grace. This is the third and I believe final book in the Maple Hills series, or most people would probably know it as the Icebreaker series, as I think that one is the most popular and has been popular for quite some time. I was so excited for this book to be released and it did not disappoint. So in this one we follow Henry, who's on the ice hockey team at the Maple Hills University, and we also follow Hallie, who is quite a reserved, introverted bookworm who likes to live her life with books and baking and with her cats, and I really relate to that, which I think is one of the reasons why I really enjoyed it, because we get to see Hallie sort of grow as a person in this book and also accept the fact that her hobbies are what makes her her, and she doesn't need to change that for anyone. As I said, this follows Henry and Hallie, and Henry is sort of struggling with the pressure of being an ice hockey captain, and he has a very difficult class with a professor that he doesn't really get on with. But then he meets Hallie, who they become really great friends first of all, and she sort of helps Henry with this class, and they sort of make a trade. So she helps him with his class and he helps her make her life a bit more interesting. And it's just really great. It's actually very wholesome. We get to see each character grow as a person and accept and discover their own boundaries, which I think was really lovely. And I just had a really great time with this, and for a romance it had a lot of sentiment and heartfelt moments in there, which I think made it really special, and that's what made it get a place in my top 10 of the year. At number 9 we have another romance, which is Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. This is the second book in the When in Rome series. I was not expecting this to be a 5-star read at all. I gave When in Rome a 3 stars just because I'm not the biggest fan of like a pop star romance. So one person's a pop star, the other's just an ordinary person, but it was still really great. So this one is a little bit different, and in this one we follow the male main character's sister from When in Rome, who's called Annie. And again, she's sort of a person who isn't the most outgoing and fun person. And she goes on a date because she's desperate to find like the love of her life. She just wants the love that her parents had. And she's desperate to find this one person. And on one of these dates, she hears this guy describe her as unbelievably boring. And then we meet Will, who is Amelia from When in Rome's bodyguard. And again, we sort of see them become friends and develop a deeper connection and just fall in love throughout the course of this book. And again, there's a theme with these two. We just see the characters accept who they are, and also grow from that. So how they complement each other, how they can grow themselves without losing all the qualities that make them them. And this was just a really, really fun time. If you're looking for a really fun, well-written romance series, I definitely recommend the When in Rome series by Sarah Adams. Number 8 on my list is Tom Felton's Beyond the Wand. This is his memoir or biography, autobiography. I never remember which one's which for a biography and autobiography. But regardless, this is Tom Felton's non-fiction book about how he basically just grew up with the wizard world, and we see his life from when he was really young and when he first got his acting career started, through the moments of filming Harry Potter and then beyond that. And I just love this because it just not discovered, it just reignited the magic of those films and books that they brought, and just seeing it through his eyes as a young actor and all the help that he had around him with all these amazing actors. Like, that's just insane that as a child you get to work with these incredible actors that were in the Harry Potter films. And yeah, as I said, this was just so magical in its own way, and I just really, really loved it and had a really great time with this. And I think if you are wanting to read this, if you can get hold of the audiobook, it makes it even better. Having him narrate it and telling his story is so great. And I think also seeing how, from being a childhood actor into adult life, that sort of affected him and impacted him, and I learned a lot about him that I wasn't aware of previously. And I don't know, with this one, it just really stood out to me and I absolutely loved it. Okay, now at number 7 we have Prophet by Helen, MacDonald and Sin. I still don't know how to pronounce his last name. Sin Blaché? I don't know, I'm very sorry. This was incredible. It was very unexpected. I was sent this as part of a book tour on Instagram, and I read it for that. And it's one of those weird dystopian sci-fi otherworldly books. So this, we follow a detective and an ex. Okay, so it slipped my mind who some of our, or the history of the main character, but he's had a bit of a troubled past. There was some incidents in his life that has caused him to be the way he is now. So we follow Sunil Rao and Adam Rubinstein as they discover and try and find out what this mysterious event is. And that event is that things just keep popping up in the middle of nowhere, out of the blue. So a diner appears overnight in a remote British field, and more objects just keep appearing, and no one knows where they're from, how they got there, and some of them are quite deadly. So we follow these two who go on a job to discover where these are coming from and why. And it was just so weird. I will say, very confusing, but in the best way possible. You're left with you're not left with questions, but you have so many questions. You don't know what's going on. You don't know who to trust. You don't know if they can trust each other. But then there's also a history with these two characters, and they knew each other once before and they parted ways, and it's kind of also focusing on them bridging that gap between them that was left from when they previously saw each other. And essentially they have to fight for the future, ensure that whatever this is doesn't harm anyone else. It's sort of, Neil Gaiman has described it as a present-day science fiction that feels like the best sort of spy novel, and I'd absolutely agree with that. It's a very genre-bending novel. It combines so many different genres together, and it was just amazing. I think if you like sci-fi or are wanting to get into sci-fi, If you like crime, if you like a bit of mystery, you should definitely look into this, see what you think of it, because I really, really love this. Next, we have another unexpected one, which is The Library of Shadows by Rachel Moore. I read this for Vampathon, hosted by Jodie, and I've had this on my shelves for a couple of years and just never got round to it, but I thought this is going to be the year, and if I don't, I'm going to get rid of it. And I'm so glad I did. This is essentially a kind of dark academia, but kind of not. So it's set in a school called Radcliffe Prep, which is the third most haunted school in the country, where student disappearances aren't uncommon, and no one dares to stay in the library after dark. So our main character, Estee, enrolls in this school in the hopes of finding more about her father, who has passed away, and her father actually went to this school. And in this, she sort of gets swept up in the mystery that that her father was sort of connected to, and now she's sort of taken on that legacy to try and find out what's going on, why things aren't matching up, why there's ghosts, and why there's spooky things in the library. This was just so fun, and I don't actually know why I love this one so much and how it made my top 10, because as I said, I wasn't expecting it to, but it was really great and I flew through it. It was funny, it was dark at places, you had the mystery. It was just really great, and I think if you're looking for quite a fun, light-hearted read with a bit of mystery put in there and a bit of romance, you would really like this. Number 5, I think, we have Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. This is one of the very first books that I read in 2024, and it stuck with me throughout the whole of the year. I would often think about this quite a lot throughout the year. So this follows our main character, Tova, whose husband has passed away recently, and her son also passed away when he was quite young. And she decides to keep her busy. She takes a job at the Sewell Bay Aquarium. Well, she's worked there for quite a while, but we're now just following her working at this aquarium. And at that aquarium, she meets Marcellus, who is a giant Pacific octopus who lives in the aquarium and sees everything. Him and Tova form the sweetest friendship ever, and she really talks to him and confides in him, and we sort of see, sorry if the angles changed, Jasmine was just being a bit naughty. I don't remember what I was saying. Through this friendship and her talking to him, we sort of see what's happened in Tova's life, especially with regarding her son Eric. And it turns out that Marcellus sort of knows more than she does and tries to let her know these little bits of information that he knows to bring her some peace about what happened to her son. This helps her actually look forward to the future, which for quite some time, especially since losing her husband and being on her own, she sort of didn't think she could do. And what I really love about this is we do get some chapters that are told in Marcellus's point of view. So the first chapter says day 1299 of my captivity, and it sort of switches between him, Tova's, and someone else's character, switches between their point of view, but I cannot remember. This was so sweet. It's just a general contemporary fiction kind of, with a bit of magical realism in there, and I genuinely would recommend this to anyone. I think anyone would be able to pick this book up and find something to love about it. It's got friendship, it's got a talking sort of octopus, it's got love, it's got loss, it's just light-hearted goodness. that everyone should read. Okay, then at number 4 we have The Hurricane Wars by Thea Guanzon. This is a first book in a new fantasy series, which very much focuses on dark versus light, and I believe is actually inspired by Reylo from Star Wars, if you know them. This follows the Night Empire, which casts a long shadow over the land, and nothing can stand in the way of its might and power. And year by year, the Hurricane Wars take, and yet there is hope in the darkness. One lone light stands against the Empire, and that lone light comes from our female main character, Taliesin. So in this, we follow Taliesin as she sort of grapples with her past, her story, and how she may be able to offer some light in the darkness of the Night Empire. It is a fantasy romance. We've got forced proximity, we've got knife to throat, we've got marriage of convenience. This was just so great for a first book in this series, and I think it might have been her debut novel. But for me, there was just some lovely writing in there, and I thought the balance between the politics and the world building and the romance was really great. As someone, I have a lot of fantasy and I have read a fair bit, but it's not like my main genre. And nor is fantasy romance or romantasy. As someone who loves the world building in fantasy books, I'm always quite skeptical of romantasy or fantasy romance books, as I don't want that to get lost. So for me, there was the perfect balance between those two, and it was just really great. It was so fun, it was intriguing, it was a bit dark in places. And as I said, there were some beautiful moments of writing in here that I really loved. And I'm very much looking forward to read the second one very, very soon. I do apologise if you can hear rustling or like something being dragged on the floor. My cats have gone a bit wild. Number 3 of 2024 was Daphne by Josh Mallerman. This was a bit of a wild card, I guess, because last year was the year that I really got into horror. I still haven't read loads, and I'm still like discovering the type of horror that I like. This was so good. I absolutely loved it. I don't have the book, so I don't actually remember like the synopsis. Basically we follow these group of high school kids who I think they're all on the basketball team of their high school, and this is sort of their last game of the season and their last game before they move on to university, I think, from what I can remember. But this one night before the game, they tell horror stories, and we hear the story of Daphne, who was, from what I can remember, this may be wrong, but Daphne was a student at their school who passed away and comes back to haunt people. Then we sort of see everything unfold from there, because with the legend of Daphne, the more you say her name, the more she's drawn to you, and she focuses on only you. What I really loved about this and was very surprised about is that a lot of them have a lot deeper meaning than just the horror aspect, and I really love that. And that's one of the reasons why I really want to continue exploring the genre, because there's so many out there. I bet there's so many great ones, and I just had a fabulous time with it, and I completely wasn't expecting it at all. I just thought, last year I was trying to branch out into more genres that I'd not read before, and I thought, let's give horror a go. Didn't think I'd like it because I don't particularly like scary things, but absolutely loved it, and I'm excited to continue my horror reading journey. On that note, another horror book that I read last year and really loved was The Trees Grew Because I Bled There by Larocca. So this is a collection of short horror stories, which are insane. Jasmine! And what I really love about this is that The stories in this are tales of grief, obsession, love, and control, and each one has a focus on those topics, which again, as I've just said about Daphne, is not something I was expecting from the horror genre, and I absolutely love this. If you want to see more thoughts on this, I do have a reading vlog where I read this, and also Daphne, which I'll link somewhere. But yeah, I absolutely love this. I'm really excited to explore more of his work, but also I think to continue to come back to this, because even though they're very short and they're horror, I have a feeling with some of these stories in here you can get something different from each of them. And now my number one book of 2024 is Annihilation by VanderMeer. There couldn't possibly be any other book to take the number one spot. This was amazing. It was phenomenal. Phenomenal. Another surprise. I had this book for a while, and I did a reading vlog where I only read pink books for a week, and I read this one. I thought it's a way to get it off my physical TBR. If I don't like it, it's fine. Absolutely loved it. So in this, we follow our unnamed narrator, which I love it when there's an unnamed narrator. You always know something's going to go down when you can't fully connect to them. And you don't know their name, you don't really know anything about them, you know it's going to be good. They joined the Southern Reach, which is a secretive government agency who have sent 11 expeditions to investigate this area called Area X, which is an environmental disaster zone. No one knows really what's going on there. You don't know how it's come to be this horrific way. And it's been there for over 30 years, and it has been a mystery for that long as well. So we follow 4 women who embark on the 12th expedition into the unknown. This was just insane. You've got distrust, you've got this horror aspect of Area X and its unknown identity, and the things that are in it, and the things that happen when they step into this area. What I really loved about this as well is that you don't really get any answers. So you follow them on this journey, you see all this creepiness, all these different aspects of this area, and you see like the haunting atmosphere of it. But you are also left at the end with questions, and maybe if anything more questions than when you went in. I honestly think this was just a bit of a masterpiece, and it has been out for a long time, so I think a lot of people will have already read this, or I know a lot of people have already read it, and probably if you're watching this you may have read this already. But if you like anything dystopian, sci-fi, mystery, thriller, even anything like that, read this. It was amazing, and not only has it earned the top spot my favourite reads for 2024, it is up there with one of my favourite books of all time, and one that I will always recommend. So there we have my top 10 books of 2024. If you have made it this far into the video, please let me know which books were your favourites of 2024, if you've read any of these, and what you thought about them. Thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't already, please subscribe because it means so much to me. And if you haven't already, please give this video a big like, because seeing the support that I've been getting recently has been really great, and I really appreciate every single watch, comment, like, subscription, whatever. Absolutely love it. So thank you so much, and I will see you in whatever comes next. Bye.